So this is breaking news, and I may not get all of it 110% correct, so bear with me here. So Michael Flynn, he was the former um, uh, Secretary of National Security, I believe, something like that, for Donald Trump. I think that was his first one. I remember they said he was charged with, I guess he was convulting, he was working with the Russians. And he got charged. I know he was facing some serious charges. He had to sell his house at one point to pay his legal fees, and he ended up pleading. I think Trump gave him got him out of prison. I don't know if it was a shortened sentence or a pardon. I don't remember. So Michael Flynn he was at a type of a workshop, I guess, over the weekend, over just the holiday, and he in Dallas, the Patriot Roundup, and I think in the beginning of the weekend he said something like Trump is still the president, and the last thing he's at the end of the event he says that he was talking about the Myanmar in Indonesia, the Myanmar massacres. It's like a lot of folks getting killed over there, and he was joking about it. And he basically, someone asked him about it, and he said, "No reason it couldn't happen here." I think that due to the kind of socio-political issues we're having in this country, that his comments were extremely dangerous. They were distasteful, and he should have known better. I think that Colonel Flynn, I think it's the Colonel General, I think that he brought is an embarrassment to the American military. And I think that what happened over the weekend shows you again how desperate the right wing really is. That for so long, like if you ask Americans about, Rwanda or massacres that happened in Africa, a lot of white folks don't give a shit about that. I don't know what the hell you talking about. I don't give a shit about that. They don't. Like I listen to trance music, which is worldwide community, and I people probably don't even know. I'm more world citizen than I am just American. My point I'm going with this, and it's amazing to hear a redneck come out and say, a redneck in Texas come out and say, "Hey, why don't we have done a massacre that's being done overseas?" Like it's kind of shocking because a lot of people down there are nativists, and a lot of them like they don't care. I learned that. Like they know America's an empire. They want to remain an empire. They know what's going on. They want the system of corruption, the system of coercion to continue. I think that this. I always say this in my videos that the right has kind of lost the culture war, and I think that this kind of proves it. I think that the fact that they've lost the culture war, this is all they've got left. I mean, Trump came out talking about it. The military is going to do martial law and all this. Never happened. In fact, I told you. In fact, all those generals came out and spoke about it. There was some type of a mandate. He had an army where it was a head of the military, excuse me, where he said that it was Milley. He said if you're going duties like in the Virginia, the capital area, you could not have camouflage uniforms on. Period. You have to have on your uniform, your the medals and ribbons and stuff. You have to have on your Class A uniform, unless you in the field, you're doing like training or something. Because he was so concerned about even the image, the iconography being used of American troops. And they could take some pictures of some guys walking to a restaurant or something. Like, oh look, the military's in town, and he knew that, and he was concerned about that. Yeah, there was a talk by in the Air Force. The head of the NCO was a black man, and the head of the Air Force had like a 2-3 hour talk on racism. They got rid of that's when they started talking about banning Confederate flags and military institutions, changing the names of military bases. Yeah, right after that happened. So it's almost like an understanding that they've lost the culture war in a way. Like they pushed as far as they could, but they've lost. And so now the answer is, well, let's just go engage in a massacre like they do overseas. Let's go kill thousands of our own people, children, women, unarmed citizens. That's very sick. And this is a deeply concerning development by on the right to go this direction. Do I think it'll go anywhere? No. But I think I talk about respectability politics and how it's not of any value to me because I realize I'm dealing with my enemy. This is an example of what I'm talking about. This is the enemy. This is the enemy. This is where this is what they talk about. It's not about let's create something that makes Becky and Chad's life better. No, let's talk about civil war. Because that's what you're talking about. The former cabinet national security level position is out here talking about engaging in a massacre of American troops on American soil in public. This is dangerous. This is a dangerous new development. And it bothers me that now this stuff is like, that's Tuesday. Yeah. I mean, between the mass shootings, you had the one in California, San Jose, and then between the mass shootings and between comments by high level positions, people that were in high level positions about basically race war and massacres of people they don't like. This has kind of become normal now, and that bothers me. I don't talk about a lot of these videos and these things I hear about, but that's not good. This is. I talk about often about how Obama's people are still out here doing things. You know, you look at his secretary, his attorney general, excuse me, Eric Holder. He's out here talking about gerrymandering. You know, you talk about other people that Obama had around him that are actually doing things. They're actually making the world a better place, and they're keeping his legacy alive. Excuse me. It just concerns me that this happens and there's no. I mean, if anybody needs to understand what we meant when we said like Trump should be blocked from certain briefings, Trump should be blocked from like certain information. Like this is what we're talking about. Like I remember when he got in office, they were talking about that. Like people were saying he shouldn't be getting certain briefings. This is what we're talking about. This is literally what we mean. This is not just politics. This is not just hyperbolic conversation to where we're like, well, I don't like Trump. This is not just that. This is not just some jokes he's made in the past. This is because you literally have people in this country who want a race war and are openly talking about things that will get you a race war. Yeah, wouldn't take much. You ever seen The Siege with Denzel Washington? Wouldn't take much. Once the thing is in, once it's in, anything can happen. Once you bring the military in and you get that stuff started, you've got to. It wouldn't take much to have massacres. Even if you brought the military in for good reasons. Look at what Bruce Willis said in that movie about how the military is a saber. It's it's a broad weapon. It's a broad. That's what it is. And talking about, I don't know. It just shocks me that this. I hope this affects Trump's chances. Like, if nothing else, I hope that when people see this context, I think most Americans have a short attention span of a gnat. But and it's kind of like this thing of Trump's not president. You don't have someone out here making dumb comments every day. I mean, Biden makes dumb comments, but that's because he's not cognitively all there. Biden's not like, let's go kill all the blacks. Let's go hang all the blacks. He's not saying stuff like that. He's just talking about young girls and stuff that he shouldn't be talking about in public, period. Inappropriate comments. Trump was seeing things that were causing people to lose faith in the markets, lose faith in the U.S. government, and people to have concern about the direction America was and is still heading. It's still heading there. A little different. Kung flu, comments like that, making, going up there and make just stupid shit. Stupid asinine elementary school shit. I think that with these comments, not just Trump, but these people are making all around, I hope it keeps average American, not regular, not people that got 17 guns in their closet, not people that are running around with big ass flags hanging on their Jeep. Average, regular people, working class people. I hope when they see stuff like this, it reminds them of what Trump was. Because sometimes we get addicted to people's situations. Sometimes, you might be married to somebody, date somebody, and y'all break up, and some time passes, and you'll see them again, and you'll be like, "Hey, what's up?" And you've forgotten how bad they really are. You've forgotten how bad their relationship really was because time has passed. Maybe they've cleaned themselves up a little bit. Maybe they've, and I think that with stuff like this, it lets Americans know that this is what Trump was. That Biden's about whatever he's gonna do. Hopefully, achieves the stuff he's talking about doing, and Trump was about violence. Trump was about violence and running around and joking about race war and massacres of people and basically degenerating the country 100 years past. That's what the Trump platform was, is, and will always be: degeneration, violence, suppression of minorities. And I mean, we look at Trump's polls, have been dropping. It was brought to my attention. I wasn't aware of this. And the sad fact of the matter is, his polls aren't dropping because people don't like what he's saying or what he was saying. His polls are dropping because he was deplatformed. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of deplatforming people. I think we should have discussions. I've said it before. Like Ben Burgess said, we can't cancel our way to a better world. I tell everybody, I'm sorry. I get it. I get it. There's some people out here who should be canceled. There's some people out here who should not be able to speak in the comments. They should not. They should not be able to go on TV. They should not be able to go in politics. There's some people out here that should be confronted. Period. But that's not the end all be all. That's a tool. That's not the end all be all though. And I just I know that it was his deplatforming that's made him become, his polls have dropped. And Biden's accomplishing a lot of shit. I mean, they run out here and called him a communist and everything, and a lot of that stuff they called him communist on didn't even happen. So he's not a communist. He's a regular guy. He's a regular guy. If you white people want to throw back to 100 years in the past, hey, you got Joe Biden. He's certainly a throwback. You want to talk about? You want to go back to Jim Crow, and that's certainly a throwback. A different side of that type of politics, but he was a throwback. Delaware and all that shit. Like I said, I just think that when Trump was running, Biden stayed in the basement. Remember, I was in the hotel at that time back in October, and people were talking about, was that a smart political decision to basically let Trump just run out here and be the emperor with no clothes? That's what I call it. Just run out here, just run his mouth and be stupid, and Biden just stay back and just be like, look, this is what I believe in, guys. And every so often he might say this or say that, but he pretty much stayed back in the shadows, and he let Trump hurt himself. Basically, like, show the world, like, is this what you want? Or do you want me? What do you want? Do you want me? I'm laying wreaths, and I'm going to black churches and all this type of stuff. That's what he did. And I think that was a smart decision. I don't think that would work with a lot of other elections, but I think with Trump that kind of worked because we had the racial stuff going on. And, no matter what Biden said, he was the vice president to a black man. to one of the most popular presidents today, Barack Obama. You know, it's kind of like, do you want this? Do you want superstar? Do you work superstar? Or do you want this ignoramus? I just think that these type of comments are the opposite of what Joe Biden was doing. This is a man who's afraid of losing legitimacy. This is a man that's afraid to be forgotten. I'm not saying that Trump is telling Flynn to talk like this. I'm not saying that Trump's like, hey, you need to go tell those niggers, you need to go down to Dallas and tell them people we need to have a massacre today. I'm not saying Trump's doing that. I'm not even saying they're in contact with each other. And I'm gonna tell you something else too. I'm not even sure if Trump ran again, he'd even want Flynn anywhere close. But I don't think he could run again. I don't think Flynn could be in politics again because of his. Just because you get a commuted sentence doesn't mean you're still guilt. A pardon is still guilt. You're still a felon. You just don't go to prison. You know. For what I understand, what he gave Flynn, I don't think he'd come back in there. I don't know if they still understand contact. I don't know. I don't care. But I think that this is about him, Bolton, the rest of them. This is about staying in the public spotlight. And it's a waning spotlight because there's so much going on and the world's moving on without Trump. You know, like I said, I think that honestly, this shows you that deplatforming works. That's not a good thing. That's not. I want to be clear about it. Two things: being happy about deplatforming, even when it's something we don't like, that's not something to be proud of. Secondly, the fact that these corporations have so much power. These are not, even when they do good things, even when a corporation, you go on the website and they're like, we support Black Lives Matter. Even when you have like corporations that like support the women's equal pay stuff, or when they support a gay marriage, or when they talk about climate change, that's fine. But that's still a concerning development that they have so much power. We shouldn't ignore that. It's like Eisenhower talking about the military-industrial complex, all the many years ago. It was the 50s. That's still a concerning development. Even if in the military-industrial complex, even if they were used for good, which they haven't been, that's still concerning that they have that much power and that that's growing and that they can't be checked. That's bad. They're not, and they don't answer anybody. Like I said, I really believe that this whole thing is about remaining relevant. About the world knowing that, hey, I'm still here. Don't forget about me. Hey, don't forget about me. I'm still here. I'm still out here making racist comments and get them Jews and get them gays and get them blacks. I'm still out here doing that. And in fact, I'm kind of worse now because I've been blocked out of the social media network. So that means I've got to be more belligerent. That's the word. That way, because people won't listen to me. People lose all attention. I mean, he had a blog or something, I think Trump set up that nobody went on. I mean, I didn't even know about it. I'm sure about it yesterday. This is what I'm talking about. This is what you do when you shut out. I don't think Trump will be able to. I think it'll hurt his chance of re-election. The social media thing. I think probably out of all the stuff out here, that probably hurt him the most. Him being shut out of politics, and I guess it's going to make him more violent because he has to be. He's going to, and I feel like I feel like honestly, the 2016 election is kind of like the calm before the storm. Trump even said that he took a picture of all these people at the White House and he was like, "This is the calm before the storm." I think like I didn't understand what that meant by then. I think like we're in the storm now. All these mass shootings, climate change getting worse. COVID happened. It's still going on. All these different strains of COVID. We're all just sitting around waiting for something. We're waiting for disease X to hit. We're waiting for a strain X to hit that's going to like just be deadly. We're waiting for like a contagion type event at this point. no one's doing anything about. This is what it is. So you had COVID. You got this next Chinese avian flu they're talking about. Should be pretty bad this year. Um, you've got all these things popping up at the same time, and you've got Trump's people talking about violence. I just think that I'm not sure Trump could run again. We're talking about wildfires getting worse this year, ghost fires in California just pop out of nowhere. Um, I think that his rhetoric of just like the water's never been cleaner, the air never been cleaner. I think that shit only works. People are really stupid and they want to believe that. But when people are being starved, people see stuff openly happening. It's hard to do that, and I think history will kind of look on Trump as that is the guy that took advantage of American stupidity to just say, hey, you know what? The air never been cleaner. The water never been clean. Just lies, blatant lies. And people that want to believe that are like, okay, yeah, I guess the air's clean. I don't see any smog anymore. There's no smog. Like, I think that's the problem with technology and climate change and stuff is that like as the technology gets better and they're able to do certain things, people will say like, well, I remember when there was a bunch of smog, so that means there's no more problems because there's no more visuals. You know what I mean? I remember when blacks couldn't get on the back of the bus. So that means racism got a lot better. Like I think that's the problem when you're not serious about these issues and you don't have a conceptual understanding of climate change, systematic racism, things of this nature, or inequality. If it's not broadly openly in your face, you could be like, well, it ain't as bad as it was 50 years ago. That's not good. You want to go back to them sicking dogs on people? That's not something to be happy about. That's something to be embarrassed about that things were that bad. That's when you look at the Tulsa stuff. That was bad. You killed American citizens in their homes and streets. You like that's bad. That's not something to be like. Well, we don't do anything. We don't kill blacks anymore. I just think that I think that I think that honestly, we're going towards what was foretold the scientists back in the 90s about climate change and things that we're hitting that and we're not going to stop. We're not going to do anything about these problems. And I think that as people see it and they hurt themselves, that type of just belligerent Republican politics, that ignorant, dunderheaded Republican politics, I think that's kind of, it loses its value. We're just gonna cut all taxes, cut all regulations. Let's make money. Like I think that won't work now. Like if you're running against a Hillary Clinton that people don't like, I didn't like her. That's one thing. But to go against an actual what's the word, equal, like Joe Biden or someone else is equal to Trump, it doesn't work. That only works when you got a lot of bunch of angry white people who 2016 was a perfect storm. And I don't think it happened again. Thank you for listening.